This link is made of Valyrian steel. Only one Maester in 100 wears it on his chain. It signifies that I have studied the higher mysteries. And all who study these mysteries try their hand at spells. But in the end, for all my efforts, I got no more out of it than 1,000 boys before me.
Even from the earliest The Song of Ice and Fire books, it was always clear that the Citadel's Maesters were skeptical of magic and actively discouraged the practice of it. The Order of the Maesters devotes itself to the study of rational knowledge, healing arts, history, and even mathematics. But they are very scornful of magic, or the higher mysteries as they refer to it. We can see this through how Maester Luwin constantly discourages Bran from inquiring further about his green dreams, telling him that it can teach him history, healing, and herb lore, but Bran, no man can teach you magic. He says something similar in the television show too.
Maybe magic once was a mighty force in the world. But not anymore.
Basically, the Maesters promote a world that is governed by knowledge and reason, actively speaking out against the supernatural and occult. Maester Luwin's attitude is therefore typical of their order. They view the tales of the children of the forest, wargs, and prophecies as mere myths and delusions. And this is why they actively discourage the practice of magic, conspiring to stamp it out completely from the world. Archmaester Marwyn, nicknamed Marwyn the Mage, even tells Samwell that the Order is blatantly doing this, explaining their agenda bluntly when he says, "Who do you think killed all the dragons the last time around? Gallant dragon slayers armed with swords? Pfft. The world the Citadel is building has no place in it for sorcery, prophecy, or glass candles, much less for dragons. Ask yourself why Aemon Targaryen was allowed to waste his life upon the wall, when by rights he should have been raised to Archmaester. His blood was why he could not be trusted." This revelation not only suggests that the Maesters have been working secretly for generations to eliminate magic from Westeros, but it also insinuates that they have been conspiring against House Targaryen for centuries, working on their downfall because of their magical blood. The last Targaryen dragons died shortly after the Dance of the Dragons, a civil war that happened almost a century before the events of the main novels. And while history credits their demise to confinement and inbreeding, Archmaester Marwyn implies that Maester Sabotage was the real culprit. He insinuates that the Citadel had a motive throughout the Targaryens' reign, eliminating all their dragons, creatures that they viewed as the living embodiment of magic in Westeros. As we've established, the Maesters wanted magic gone, so by eliminating the Targaryen dragons, they not only weakened House Targaryen's military power, but they also ushered in an era of a magic-free world. Throughout the main novels, we are told that the lost Targaryen dragons died during the reign of Aegon the Dragonbane, growing to be smaller and sicklier before finally dying out.
The dragons Aegon used to conquer Westeros ranged over hundreds of miles. Then Daenerys' ancestors started chaining them up in pens. A few generations later, the lost dragons were no larger than cats. They must be unchained or they'll waste away.
What if the Maesters were the ones who were responsible for that slow growth? Since they tended to the dragons and the dragon keepers who watched over them, what if the Maesters used slow-acting poisons and incorrect caring methods to ensure that no new healthy dragons survived past infancy? The books never explicitly say that the dragons were killed, but Marwyn's statement almost makes it canon that someone must have been responsible for their death, and his finger is clearly pointing towards the Citadel and its Maesters. In A Dance with Dragons, it's quite strange that Tyrion, who is a vivid reader and who loves dragon lore, points out that there is a book at the Citadel on the death of dragons. He says that it's a fragmentary, anonymous, blood-soaked tome, sometimes called Blood and Fire, and sometimes The Death of Dragons, the only surviving copy of which was supposedly hidden away in a locked vault beneath the Citadel. The fact that the Citadel is suppressing books that could give people insight on the death of the Targaryen dragons is quite strange but fascinating. It sort of insinuates that the Order is hiding something that they don't want the rest of the world to know. Perhaps some secret knowledge on how dragons were killed or can be killed. Why would the Maesters try to hide this tome from the public, except to cover their tracks on their involvement in the death of the dragons? And killing the dragons also went hand in hand with the downfall of the Targaryen dynasty. Lady Dustin seems to believe that that was something that was politically engineered by the Citadel to topple House Targaryen and establish their own order. In a conversation that she has with Theon, she tells him that the former Maester in Winterfell was Wallace Flowers, a man who was planted by the Citadel with an agenda. She says, once he forged his chain, his secret father and his friends wasted no time dispatching him to Winterfell to fill Lord Rickard's ears with poisoned words, as sweet as honey. The Tully marriage was his notion, never doubted. The marriage pact between the Starks and the Tullys set the stage for Robert's rebellion, which ended the Targaryen dynasty once and for all. Therefore, Lady Dustin is insinuating that it was actually the Maesters who helped spark the downfall of the Targaryens, getting rid of them once and for all. And never forget that it was Grand Maester Pycelle who encouraged King Aerys to open the gates of the city for the Lannisters, betraying him at the last hour and allowing for the city to be sacked.
I urged him to surrender peacefully. But the king didn't listen to me. Didn't listen to Varys, who tried to warn him. But he did listen to Grand Maester Pycelle. That grey sunken cunt. You can trust the Lannisters, he said. The Lannisters have always been true friends of the crown.
Pycelle served the Citadel's goals by encouraging the king to open the city gates, thus allowing the Lannisters to come into the city, sack it, and kill every Targaryen heir in the Red Keep. And it's important to note that the Order remained intact after Robert ascended the Iron Throne. He was much more of a conventional Westerosi type of king, militarily strong, with no dragons, no prophecy, and no magic. Therefore, in the end, the Maesters were actually the true winners of Robert's rebellion, if indeed Archmaester Marwyn's statement is true. Even looking back at things like Targaryen madness shows the long, deliberate, and subtle conspiracy that the Maesters have been conducting against the members of House Targaryen. People tend to blame the madness of some Targaryens on inbreeding. But what if this is another one of the Maesters' subtle ways of undermining Targaryen power? The books never give a smoking gun for this idea, but there are intriguing hints and patterns for it. The Maesters do control the leechings, potions, and medicines given to noble lords, so a skilled one could slowly poison a king or addle his mind under the guise of treatment. For example, in House of the Dragon, notice how Viserys gradually gets worse when Maester Malos tends to him, but gets better after the novice Maester Orwyle is brought in from the Citadel. Orwyle arrives shortly after Otto Hightower was fired, but as soon as Otto returns, Viserys' health becomes worse and worse. Were the Hightowers working together with the Citadel to kill Viserys Targaryen? Did Otto brief Orwyle about the conspiracy when he returned to his position? These are questions worth asking given Marwyn's statements. Even looking further back on some of the relationships between Targaryen kings and their maesters does raise some eyebrows about what was happening there. It's interesting to note that it was the Targaryens who showed the greatest interest in magic and dragon lore who happened to die in the weirdest ways. King Maegor executed his Grand Maester because he believed that he was poisoning him. Of course, in history, Maegor's words are recorded as those of a mad and cruel man. But were they, truly? What if Maegor was right and the Maesters were trying to kill him? Maegor clearly regarded the Maesters as his enemies. At the very least, the Maesters capitalized on Targaryen madness and turned opinion against the family. They definitely propagated the idea that any Targaryen showing magical obsession or erratic behavior, like Aegon V's obsession with hatching dragons at Summerhall, is proof that the world is better off without dragons and their masters. It was to the point that even someone as wise and learned as Maester Aemon was kept at arm's length, showing that the Maesters overall believed that someone with Targaryen blood, by virtue of their magical heritage, was a threat to the natural order that the Citadel wanted. Therefore, even if the Maesters didn't cause Targaryen madness, they definitely exploited it for this agenda, undermining any kings that had a proclivity towards magical interest and steering the realm more towards those that were aligned with the Citadel's philosophies. But that's just what I think. What do you think about the Maesters' conspiracy? Their aversion to magic, the causing of the downfall of House Targaryen? Tell me what you think about these things down below in the comments section. And if you like this video, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you so much for watching the video. Peace.